Great. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. This is the January meeting of the Commission on Aging due to the Omicron variant, which is making a visit to Darien, including in my own household. We are doing this by video. It looks like, as I count out, we have a quorum, I believe, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes, I think so. And so as a result, I'll ask, as folks had a chance to review the December minutes of the Commission on Aging.
Yep.
Yes, okay. And so thank you. And so can I have a motion to approve the December minutes? Thank you, Mary. Second? Thank you, Jim. All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, everybody. I'm not using these hand signals they sometimes use. I'm going to use the actual raise your hand kind of thing. And so as a result, we'll move on to our agenda. First up, Beth, tell us what's going on at the Mather Center.
Okay. Well, since the spike happened, most senior centers closed about 2 or 3 weeks ago. We have not, primarily because we kept protocols in place. We kept the distancing, the masking, the attendance, the limited attendance, and the limited time in the rooms. So we're very fortunate that we have a very active membership who's extremely cooperative. We have had reports of breakthrough cases, and we have reported those that are Darien residents to our public health department. And most folks have called us and told us they're not coming in either if they don't feel good or if they are positive. So, you know, that's a real plus side that we can stay open. There are only 3 instructors. Of all of our instructors are not comfortable coming in yet. So those classes we're holding off till February. The only thing we're doing different is generally we were, this last quarter, we were lucky enough to be able to have the entertainments inside, distance everybody, and let them have a bag lunch on their chair. They would eat, put their mask back out, and enjoy the entertainment. We're not doing that. We'll look at that again in March. So January and February, we're not doing that at all. So no one is ever taking their masks off. I got asked this question yesterday at the Board of Selectmen meeting. We are at capacity for whatever programs we have. So basically a room that once had 40 now can have 16 or 18, and we are doing the 16 and the 18. So, and we're doing still the sign up for Darien residents is a week before the sign up for non-resident members. The February issue of Highlights and Happenings is out right now. Yesterday began the Darien resident sign up. Next Tuesday begins the non-resident sign up for the February programs. So we're doing a lion's share of a job to try to get the new Highlights and Happenings out well in advance of the month that's actually in effect. So February is out. So if anybody's listening to me, either go online and click on it or come by the center. Be happy to hand it to you. Stacy and I now are the only ones in the office area. So we are wearing N95 masks for your safety, not because there's anything wrong. We just want to keep you safe. Also, with Matter of Balance program is going to be starting. The Fairfield University nursing students so far are going to come in. It's again, mask class, limited amount of people. It's a 9-week class. As of now, it starts on February 4th. So the sign up for that is limited to 16 people. We already have half the class full. If something happens that we have to go to Zoom, you know, the universities are better than we are. So if you sign up, you will do the whole 9 weeks. The class is free. You get a wonderful textbook, and it's a great prevention program. They only do it in places that have Tai Chi classes and stretch classes, because it kind of goes with the idea of the prevention of falling, which is the huge reason why people decline when they get a little older. So we want to offer this course, and we're happy they asked us again. And I think that's pretty much about it. And for me, if people want to call in, if they're concerned or want to see if a class is still happening, another great thing that's happening is the classes that are filled up, especially our exercise classes. Everybody who's got a spot, if they're not able to come in that morning, they're giving us a call, and we have such a wait list. We are able to keep those classes filled. And I have to say, I appreciate how wonderful our members are being to each other that way. I got 2 calls this morning for an aerobics class, and we got 2 people to come in, so the class is full. So, it's amazing to me how people have adapted. It's kind of not fun to have to call in and not to drop in the center, but people have acclimated to it and are just being so kind and cooperative. And the other thing that we are doing too that I wanted to add is if people need to see each other, though I can't do soft use of the center like I did before that you could stay all day, we have made appointments for friends to meet friends in our lobby area with our beautiful fireplace. We make sure you're 6 feet apart. We make sure you keep your mask on. But people are calling in for that now. So we're actually scheduling the fireplace. And we're scheduling, even though one, me, I can't help talk with my hands. Not that you can see, but we're scheduling the one near the library as well. And I'm so happy people are coming in for that too. You just see how happy people are to be able to look at each other. Even if we can't see each other smile, we can still look at each other. So I think that's the end of my report. If there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Any questions for Beth? Seeing none, thanks so much. Beth, we'll go on to our Human Services report. Allie.
Morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Morning. The assessor's office has started their property tax, elderly tax deferral again. And the income limits are, let's see, for a couple, 55,400, or for a single person, 47,100. And you have until May 16th to apply. Yesterday at our department head meeting, Tony Homicki said that they have roughly 100 people who participate in that program, and that every few years they request the registrar of voters list of people over 65 and notify them of this program. So, and then we actually a couple of years ago took their list and reached out to all those people who were on it just to let them know they may be eligible for our services. So we will probably do that again this year as well. Not too much else. Our energy assistance continues to go on, as well as Operation Fuel to help with home heating bills. And we made our first round of calls to our emergency list before the snowstorm. And my plug every time is we're happy to take more people onto our list. All of the seniors find it very helpful and comforting. So hopefully we don't have to call too much this winter, but we shall see. Yes, Beth? Oh, question. Oh, I thought you were asking me a question. Okay, thank you. That's all.
Great. Any questions for Allie? Hearing none, I'll move on to old business. Gina, what's going on at home in Darien? Whoops, need you to get your mic on. Perfect,
Hi,
thank you.
everybody.
Hello.
Everything is going well here at home in Darien. We continue to operate and offer services that help seniors age in place. Our new handicap accessible van is out on the road and it's getting rave reviews. So if you are interested in a ride, give us a call. We're excited about that. Also tune in to TV 79 for a program. I was interviewed just last week for Community Matters. So happy to have our viewers watch more about that. And in your mailbox, this past week, you should have received our newest newsletter, About and About. So take a look for that. And that's everything that's going on about here.
Thank you so much, Gina. Peter, so welcome back. Hope you're feeling better. And please, can you tell us anything about going on with AARP or state legislation?
Absolutely. I've got a fairly busy report here, so let me start. I'm going to start probably by the most important thing, and that's the ARP Tax Aid Program is resuming at the Darien Library. It's resuming actually on Monday. So on Mondays from 1 to 7, and from Fridays and Saturdays from 9 to 4, it's going to be a repeat of what we've done in years past. The difference will be we will not be taking drop-ins. It'll all be by registration. So you'll have to call and make an appointment. And just go to the Darien Library website and you can make an appointment. And people are making appointments already, and the schedules are starting to fill up. So again, we'd encourage that. It's for everyone, irregardless of age, irregardless of income. It's just if you have a simple tax filing. So if you're running a business, for example, from your home, or you have some inventory issues, probably not. But if you're just a normal person and have some income from pensions and things like that, and you need some help, it's all going to be filed electronically. It's in good shape because we've been doing it now for the last 2 years. So the system is working very effectively. So that's the really good news, I think. Turning to the legislature, I don't know if anybody heard already, but Stefanowski announced this morning that he's running for governor again as a Republican candidate. Our town is kind of interesting. Our little town has 5 representatives in the State House. And your glass could be half empty or half full. So if you're half empty, you're saying, gee, there's no one that really represents us as a town. If your glass is half full, you can say, hey, there are 5 people that represent us, okay? It's kind of strange in a way. We now have 3 state senators, where we used to have 2, because the district that Will Haskell has, who incidentally is not running again, cuts into a piece of Darien. Those maps are not, I think, quite yet finalized, but they will be coming up, okay? The session starts February the 9th and goes to May 4th. So it's a short session because it's an even year. We don't know how many public hearings there'll be. There'll probably be, again, a lot of Zoom meetings. There are going to be a lot of issues on the table. There were quite a bit of successes, for example, last year with nursing homes. We're going to be pushing to follow up on that. So there will be a governor's race this year. I've already scheduled with AARP some meetings with Senator Duff and with Representative Wood. And I would just encourage every viewer and every one of the commission members where we have issues to start to sit on top of them and make contacts and make your voices heard. It's truly important. In looking at AARP's agenda for this year, two interesting things I want to bring up. Neighboring states have acted in recent years to establish what they call direct care payment ratios, which require certain percentage of nursing home revenue to go direct to resident care. That's already happening in New York, in New Jersey, in Massachusetts. And again, it can fund programs more to support people seeking care at home as opposed to institutions. I think that's an important one. And again, it's something that ARP is considering putting actively on the legislature's radar. A second one is, again, looking at voluntary property tax deferral programs. So again, where you may be in a condition where you can't pay your taxes or are struggling to pay your taxes, but you're a long-term resident, you can defer your payments. Again, other states have some pretty effective programs. And again, this is something that we might be looking at. 2 other quick things. At long last, the Senior Center Task Force, I guess, is meeting for the first time Friday. Is it Friday, Beth?
Yes, it's our second time meeting. First time was pretty much just introductions and getting to know each other. First time really getting putting our shoes to the pavement and starting the work. On
Good.
Friday from 10 to 12.
Right. And it should be really interesting because, there was a very major Senior Center Task Force examination 3 or 4 years ago, and a lot of information was gathered, but then it sat on the shelf for 2 or 3 years. I've been appointed by Stephen Hernandez, the chairman, as a fellow, so I'm going to be sitting in on some of these meetings. The second important program that's going on simultaneously is senior fraud. And there's a senior fraud task program because there's a real realization that there is a lot of senior fraud. And it is centered around Medicare applications as they became more complex, and attorneys, but it has expanded because the realization now is it affects banks, for example, what banks are doing. So the task force is taking a look at the role of ombudsman, the role of protective services, and how this can work together, essentially to put up more of a wall to protect seniors from these fraud issues. So a couple of really important, I think, statewide programs that would affect all of us, anybody, anywhere living in the state that's a senior in age. Questions? That's about it.
Thanks, Peter. I mean, the senior fraud thing is always interesting as to how to prevent it. In other words, it's so seemingly random when you get a phone call from allegedly the IRS or allegedly from someone who is in a jail in Toronto who claims to be your grandchild. I'm interested in what, and I'm hopeful that the task force will look into technological ways of allowing people to block such calls and only accept calls from people they know or something of that nature. I'm not a tech person myself, God knows, but it would be nice to figure out a way of seniors being able to block such calls so that they're not, quite frankly, getting them. And any thoughts on that, Peter?
Yeah, I think that's one aspect of it as well. Interesting, I sat in on a meeting of the Banking Commission recently, and they're developing a very active program, and it's amazing how much fraud has gone through banks. Again, for people saying, I'm speaking on behalf of this person, and how hard it is to nail some of these things down. But again, they're really focusing on this now, and it's getting a lot of attention, as it should. And yeah, there's a technology dimension there absolutely as well, Joe.
Yeah, great stuff. I'd also follow on what Peter said about our legislators. That is, I find Terry Wood is amazingly great about talking with her, emailing her, talking about issues, and what's really cool is whether she agrees with your position or not, she will give you a hearing out, and it's really great that even though we don't have one representative for just our town, we do have multiple people to contact and talk with about legislation. And I joined Peter in saying, yeah, let's keep our, as they say, nose to the grindstone in order to keep that going, because it's a really tremendous way of being in contact with what's going on in Hartford.
Without getting political, of the 5 representatives, 4 of them are Democrats and one is a Republican. So again, if you're an activist and you promote a party, again, it's good to make your voice heard.
Yeah, and agreed. And as a progressive myself, ironically, Terry and I don't agree on much. So, so as a result, though, that's what's so great is that you can reach out across party lines and talk about these issues with people who have an open ear. And God knows we could use a lot more of that in DC. So great stuff. Other old business. Hearing none. Is there any new business? The only new business I'd bring up relates to, it looks like there's funding that's coming to the town of Darien. And I want, obviously, there are so many concerns, be it flooding and things of that nature. The question would be whether there are other issues that can be addressed that affect seniors as well. We talked about that briefly in a previous meeting about crosswalks. So I do want us to keep an eye on that question as to if there are funds that are available, how can we have them really help our seniors if possible. Obviously, we've got state roads like the Post Road, which Darien cannot do as much as it might like to, but there are lots of local roads where we can, and especially with what's going on over at Norotan Heights, there are some walkable things that could be done on local roads, which would allow for our seniors, for example, on Edgerton Street to have an easier across if we could. So anyway, just something to think about in terms of financing and funds that have flown to us thanks to COVID relief and other issues. So I just wanted to put that on the table.
Yeah, let me add to that, Joe. That's a great point. AARP has a Livable Communities program, and the focus of many of these communities around the country is walkability. And, our town really hasn't had walkability, but it's going to have walkability issues as you think about the next 4 to 5 years with Corbin Drive, with the Heights. We're definitely moving into a stage where there's going to be a lot more walkability in our town. So again, thinking ahead, maybe not for today or tomorrow or some immediate issue like a construction site, but when this town is more fully developed as a walkable community in 2 or 3 years, it could be a real issue and it could be an important thing. And it could be a program that should require a whole examination by the town and funding. Good point.
Well, let me ask a question, Peter, since I've got you here and you're such an amazing activist. Is there a way of you bringing that to our February or March meeting or April meeting? You choose the time frame as to what Darien would have to do, what we as a commission could do vis-a-vis walkability. What towns surrounding us qualify for example, as walkable towns, and what would we as a commission? Because I think this would be an ideal kind of project for us as a commission to push and talk about as we go forward, because we can actually, I think, be effective on such an issue where we can say, okay, how do we make Darien walkable in terms of a third party agreeing we are now a walkable town? Is it possible, given the nature of I-95 cutting right through the middle of us? I mean, all those kinds of issues. So is that something you could look at for us?
Sure, I won't, don't nail me down to a month yet, but I'd be glad to. But you're right, because we have a major highway cuts through town. We also have a major railroad cuts through town.
Yeah, right.
And lots of towns don't have that. On the other hand, we're not a town where people have to climb up and down hills. There are many other communities, like in Vermont, for example, where everything is vertical. We're pretty much a horizontal town. But yeah, I'll be glad to look into it. Maybe I can find somebody, and it might be a good project for thinking ahead. For future members of this commission.
That'd be great. So just circle back to me, Peter, when you're ready, and I'll put that on the agenda, whatever month that turns out to be. That would be a great thing for us to at least consider, and whether it is something doable for a town of our size, nature, and given the various complexities we have with the transportation cutting through our town. So Allie.
Oh, no, I just wanted to add to that. I'm glad you brought that up, Joe. So it's the ARPA committee. I'm on the committee. And so far the town has received approximately $3 million of the $6 million they're supposed to receive. And we are meeting every 2 weeks to try to move this along. So they're hoping by sometime, don't quote me, in spring, that they can have some idea of where they want to spend the money. And then I guess it goes to the RTM for approval. So no pressure, Peter, but if you can, the sooner the better. We have a meeting next Tuesday, but it's every 2 weeks. So I'd be happy to relay whatever it is, to the committee or however I can be helpful.
That's awesome, Allie. It's great to have a contact already there. So yeah, I mean, to the extent that we can have some of these dollars flow to pedestrian issues, that would be amazing. Awesome. Thank you. Any other old business? Oh, Jerry.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring it to Beth's attention. I spoke to a senior last night who's a member, and she lost a family member. And she told me that she just felt so much comfort coming into the senior center during this grieving process, knowing that she could come there, that you and Stacy are there. And I guess just sitting by that fireplace and talking to you two, what that meant to her. And she shared that with me last night. And speaking of the fireplace, that's what brought it to my attention, because she said, I can't tell you what that senior center does for me and for my friends. So I just wanted to let you know, here's a woman who's in her maybe early 80s and lost someone in her family. and is going through the grieving process, and how comforted she was to be at the senior center in front of that fireplace with you and Stacy. So I wanted to let you know. I mean, that's heartwarming to me, that someone doesn't have to sit in their home by themselves and grieve, that they can make that step out and be with friends and you and Stacy. So I had to share that with you. It was just last night I talked to her.
Thanks. A lot of people are coming in, and that fireplace, I always think of Dave Campbell. We gotta give him an attaboy, and Jerry's husband too, because they were forces on having that lobby be the way it is. And it is a really loving, warm place, not only because of the fire. So thanks, Jerry.
Okay, and Rosie loves it too.
Awesome.
There she is.
It's that kind of, hi puppy. It's that kind of thing which people don't think about, right? In other words, people think of the Mather Center as programming or, other things. They don't think about the real comfort that's there from that human contact, that ability to go through difficult times with people who care. And our seniors are typically with religious organizations, but this is going to be that much more important as we go through the decades with people who are less and less religiously affiliated, to have people to go talk with who, when they may not have a priest, may not have a minister to talk about these kinds of things. So it's an awesome resource you're providing, Beth, for our town, to just have somewhere to go talk with somebody.
And Joe, just thinking of COVID, we have never had so many people lose children that are in their late 80s, middle to late 80s, who've lost children that are in their middle 50s to 60s. So this is also, sadly, something that we never had, big numbers of, and it has been over the last 2 years, unfortunately, that we've had people in that situation. So to Jerry's point, I'm actually glad she brought it up. We are here, and that's what I even said about the soft use. If you want to meet with a friend, we'll make it safe so that you can meet with somebody if you need. If it can't be Stacy and I, if there's somebody else that gives you that warmth, you have this place. This place is your place.
Very cool. Thank you so much for that. Really appreciate it. Any other new business? Hearing none, I will note that next month's meeting will likely also be online. I doubt that Omicron will have gone away by mid-February, but we'll find out. So plan on that. And can I have a motion to adjourn the January meeting of the Commission on Aging?
Moved.
Thank you. Thanks, Jim and Peter. Appreciate that. And so all in favor?
Aye.
Yes, thanks everybody. Great to see you. Take it easy, stay safe, and we'll look forward to seeing you in February. Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Well,
Stay well.
yeah.